If you're hearing the sound of my voice, that means you are tuned into another episode of the Mark My Words show, the show where I say what I mean and I mean what I say. My name is Marcus Lamar and I'm your host, and this is episode 42, and we've got a lot to get into. Before we get started, I hope everybody is enjoying their week. I hope you enjoyed your Monday and your Tuesday. By the time this episode drops, it'll be Wednesday. I hope you all enjoyed week one of the NFL season. I surely did. It's good to have football back. Obviously, there were a lot of games. Everybody played. A lot of bad football, but we expect that week one. Teams aren't as polished as they will be when midseason kicks around. But I want to start with football, obviously. And the biggest news in the NFL and in the sports world right now is Aaron Rodgers' season-ending injury. Now, if you watched the game on Monday Night Football between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets, you know that it was grand opening, grand closing. Aaron Rodgers, on his fourth snap as the New York Jets quarterback, went down, and so did the Jets championship aspirations, just like that. Just like that. Now, when I initially saw the play, I didn't know what happened. But it wasn't a good sign when Aaron Rodgers went back down to the ground and then needed a cart to get off the field and then was spotted in the back near the locker room area in a walking boot. Now, rumors and reports came out the same night that he sustained the injury that it potentially was season ending. And we came to learn on Tuesday that Aaron Rodgers' season is over. He tore his Achilles, which if you've ever played professional sports or if you watch professional sports, you know an Achilles injury or a torn ACL is an automatic season ender for any athlete. I don't care what condition you are. I don't care what shape you're in. Aaron Rodgers naturally is not the most mobile guy anyway. However, his season is now officially over. And it's unfortunate because the reason we were invested in the Jets this season is because we saw what they did last year with that defense under Robert Saleh. With the addition of Aaron Rodgers, most of us figured, hey, the New York Jets should be formidable, not just in the AFC East against the Bills and the Dolphins, but in the AFC picture, period, with the Chiefs, the Bengals. And now that Aaron Rodgers is no longer under center and in the huddle, and the Jets are turning to Zach Wilson, their season is effectively over. Their season is effectively over. There was a lot of optimism in New York City for the Jets, seeing as how the Buffalo Bills appear to have regressed. And I don't even know what the Giants are doing. Don't get me started on that debacle we witnessed on Sunday Night Football between them and the Cowboys. I'll address that at some point in the show. But I want to talk about what I think the Jets should do moving forward. I saw reports that Colin Kaepernick's agent reached out to the New York Jets about possibly signing him. Now, look, I'm not upset with Colin Kaepernick's agent because I understand that as part of his job or his responsibility to Colin Kaepernick is to seek employment for him. That's what agents do. But at this point, Colin Kaepernick has now been removed from the NFL for the better part of 7 years. Let it go. Let it go. Some of you all think that he can still play, and every time there's an open job opening in the NFL, Colin Kaepernick's name somehow gets floated out there when, if we're being intellectually honest with ourselves and not emotional, there's nobody who is going to get an NFL starting job after having been separated from the league for the last 7 years. This notion that Colin Kaepernick is somehow going to step on the football field and set it on fire like he did in 2012 and in 2013 with the San Francisco 49ers is ridiculous. We don't know what he's capable of, but I can tell you his better football days are behind him, not ahead of him. I also saw Tom Brady's name floated out there. And I understand that the Jets may appear to be desperate because championship windows in sports close and open really fast. But I do not want to see Tom Brady on a football field. I'm sorry, I don't. And I love Tom Brady just as much as the next person. But he's retired, unretired, then retired again. He's not in football shape as far as we know. So to wheel him off of his couch to play quarterback for the New York Jets in an entirely new system with no OTAs and no training camp has disaster written all over it. In case you all don't remember, because I said this to you all last time I spoke to you guys, I said we tend to romanticize the past. In case you all have forgotten, the last time we saw Tom Brady on the football field was against the Dallas Cowboys. And I got news for you. He didn't look good. He did not look good. Granted, he was playing a very, very, very formidable defense, but Tom Brady did not look good. And if I want to take it a step further, Tom Brady didn't look like himself all last year. Now, you can say, hey, it's because of the lack of weapons he had, the residual effects of the whole Antonio Brown saga, Rob Gronkowski retiring. So who was he really throwing to? Cameron Brate dealing with injuries. Mike Evans, I like and is a model of consistency, but sometimes he has the injury bug as well. But even with all of that aside, Tom Brady still didn't look good. He still didn't look good. Now, do I think he could still play national quarterback in the National Football League? Of course I do. Of course I do. Do I think he's a better option than Zach Wilson at this stage in Zach Wilson's career? Of course I do. There are a lot of people who are probably better options than Zach Wilson. But I got news for you. Ain't none of them available. Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Colin Kaepernick, all of the people y'all keep floating out there as possible replacements for Aaron Rodgers, there's no replacing Aaron Rodgers. We know that. If you're the Jets, Robert Saleh, depending on where the Jets fall, is probably going to win Coach of the Year or should win Coach of the Year. Because he's now tasked with the responsibility of going into that locker room and making sure that his players don't quit on this season, even though we all know the season is over. Last night, or Monday night, excuse me, was an emotional 24 hours for the New York Jets because it was a tale of two stories. Once Aaron Rodgers went down and his status for the game was up in the air, you could feel the life being sucked out of MetLife Stadium. Pause. You could feel it being sucked out of the stadium. But for the Jets to come back, rally around Zach Wilson, and win that football game in walk-off fashion on a punt return or a kick return touchdown, it was incredible. It was incredible. That stadium was absolutely electric. Now, that game taught me a lot about the Jets' defense, even though I already knew that they were elite going into the game. But it also taught me something about Josh Allen. The Buffalo Bills were favored to win that game by 2.5 points. I think 3 points when the spread opened, whatever the number was. They should have been favored to win that game. But nobody told me that Josh Allen had the Jets money line before the game. Nobody told me that. And nobody told me that Josh Allen had one of the Jets defensive backs who he threw 3 interceptions to on Monday night in his fantasy league. Because his connection with the Jets defense was can't miss all night. On throws to Jets defenders, Josh Allen was damn near 100%. And I like Josh Allen. So I don't want you all to hear this commentary and think that I'm abandoning ship, that I'm somehow saying Josh Allen is a bum. I think he's got a lot of Brett Favre, a lot of Ben Roethlisberger in his game. He's got a big arm. He takes chances. He's not afraid to get hit. He's not afraid to dish out hits. But I don't know what he was seeing Monday night against the Jets defense. And again, context matters. The Jets are a phenomenal defense. But you cannot turn the ball over 4 times on the road in the National Football League and expect to win the football game. And Josh Allen knows that. We all know that. It was a great win for the Jets, but the big story of the night, obviously, was their marquee quarterback who they traded for in the offseason, Aaron Rodgers, is done. And so are their championship playoff aspirations. It would be a miracle if Robert Saleh coaches this team to the playoffs, especially considering how tough the AFC East is. I understand the Patriots aren't what they used to be during the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era, but we saw on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles, you still can't count them out, and playing at Foxborough is no walk in the park. The Patriots will always compete. They'll always be well coached. They'll always stick in the game because Belichick is a brilliant defensive mind. But the Miami Dolphins look explosive. And if you all have been following this show religiously, you know that I'm not Tua Tagovailoa's biggest supporter. But he's making me eat my words. I'll be the first to admit it. He looks really, really good. Now, I would counter that by saying I think Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are making him look better than he is, possibly. But that's what receivers are supposed to do. That's why the Dolphins went out and traded for Tyreek Hill, who, by the way, is the most dangerous man in the National Football League with the football in his hands that's not a quarterback. I've been saying this for years, and Tyreek Hill continues to prove it week in, week out, year in, year out. He is the most electrifying, exciting player in the National Football League with the ball in his hands. That's no disrespect to Patrick Mahomes. That's no disrespect to Aaron Donald. I understand that they are game changers and superstars of the highest order. But Tyreek Hill is on another level. He's by far my favorite wide receiver in the National Football League. Easily. Not even close. Not even close. But it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that Aaron Rodgers will not be playing this season. It really is. It sucks. As a football fan, you're hurt for him, regardless of how you feel about him, how you feel about his politics, how you feel about his personality. As a football fan, you wanted to see a healthy Aaron Rodgers with this Jets team to see what they were going to do. And because he tore his Achilles on Monday against the Bills, we're not going to see that. Now, I saw some people, some sports fans, you weirdos, I'm calling y'all out, who thought it was funny that Aaron Rodgers got hurt, or who just didn't have any remorse because of however you feel about his politics or comments he's made in the past. Let me be the first to say, I, Marcus Lamar, have a message for you all. You all can go to hell. You all can go to hell. If you think that Aaron Rodgers suffering an injury is funny, you want to run a Twitter and make jokes about it. And again, this is taking sports out of the equation. This is not coming from Bills or Dolphins fans or Patriots fans or AFC or team fans of another team in the AFC. This is coming from people who are still upset with Aaron Rodgers because he refused to take the jab, the buddy love potion, right? And because he's either prickly with the media or refuses to engage in the nonsense that the mainstream media inflicts upon us every year. I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan. I think he's the greatest thrower of the football we've ever seen. I think with him under center, the Jets were probably going to finish somewhere around 11-6 or 10-7. They definitely were going to make the playoffs, and it would have been interesting to see how far they would have made it in the playoffs if they had reached. But that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. What's interesting about week one is that all three New York teams were in primetime. They had a primetime game. So the Cowboys played the Giants on Sunday at MetLife Stadium, and then the Bills played the Jets on Monday Night Football at MetLife Stadium. Now, I want to talk about the Giants game. The Giants game was a giant mess. We know the Dallas Cowboys are a good football team. Regardless of what people may say about them, Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones, the Cowboys have religiously made the playoffs over the last few seasons. Even though they've come up short in the playoffs, you can pencil them in for making the playoffs year in, year out. But to lose by 40 points at home week one is insane. Daniel Jones, and I'm one of those who argue that if you're going to invest in someone moving forward, if you're the Giants, between Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, you would absolutely invest in Daniel Jones. Now, that doesn't mean that I think Daniel Jones deserves to be paid an exorbitant amount of money, but the reality of the running back position is, if you're Saquon Barkley, your best days are more than likely behind you, not ahead of you. My thought process and thinking is that Daniel Jones can only get better. He can only get better. But it's time we admit it, even though we already knew this. Daniel Jones is mid. He's mid. He's average. He is a middle-of-the-pack quarterback, which is what Dak Prescott is. But Dak Prescott is a little bit better than Daniel Jones. And I think he has more intangibles than him. But for you to get zipped at home, to get punked the way you did, is inexcusable. And I can't put that all on Brian Daboll. I can't. Because at some point, players have to compete. You've got to compete. You got to want to compete. And we saw none of that from the Giants. Once the wheels came off the bus, it was over. The train got off the tracks and it unraveled, and it was nightmarish play after nightmarish play. And then when you looked up, it was 26-0 at halftime. And by the time the game ended, it was 40-0. The Dallas Cowboys put a beating on the New York Football Giants. Now, I don't think the NFC is as stacked as the AFC is. So in my eyes, before the season started, I was under the impression that the Philadelphia Eagles, who made it to the Super Bowl last year, as well as the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys, one of those three teams would be the NFC representative in the Super Bowl in Vegas. Now, a lot of people didn't like what they saw from the Eagles week 1. And I do think that some of you all overrate Jalen Hurts. I think it's possible for a player to be overrated and underrated. It's possible that I'm underrating him as a quarterback, but I know for a fact that some of you are overrating Jalen Hurts as a quarterback. Jalen Hurts, to me, is not a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League. He might be a top 5 fantasy quarterback, him and Lamar Jackson, but when it comes to actually sitting back in the pocket and flinging the football, I know how much we like to talk about how the position has evolved and I sound outdated and antiquated when I just want people to just sit in the pocket and take hits and deliver the football on time and make anticipatory throws. Yes, that is what I want my quarterback to do. I have been on record saying I do not want my quarterback running around like it's 7, period. Remember when you were a kid and they would let everyone go outside to recess, or it might even been younger than 7th grade. But the point is, that backyard football, sandlot football, to me, is not conducive to winning a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, who's the best quarterback in the league by far, extends plays with his legs when he needs to. He does it out of, okay, I see there's a hole or a lane open. I'm going to take what the defense gives me. It's not his bread and butter. Jalen Hurts, to me, is a system quarterback. Nick Sirianni and the Eagles' offensive coaching staff have done a phenomenal job of surrounding him with the pieces he needs to have optimal success. The kid can ball, and I like his character. I really do. I like the person he presents to us because I don't know him personally. But when it comes to guys like Justin Herbert, who I also think is overrated, Joey B, Patrick Mahomes, hell, even Deshaun Watson. We can finally mention his name now. Deshaun Watson, even though he struggled week 1 against the Bengals, he was able to walk away with the dub. But those guys can really, really, really fling the football. Aaron Rodgers before his injury. I like Aaron Rodgers. I do. Call me old school, but I want my quarterback to be able to deliver the football from the pocket. I really do. I really do. So I think Jalen Hurts is a little bit overrated. But the Eagles didn't look like world beaters, and it's okay, it's only week 1. Contrastly, the San Francisco 49ers did look like week 1. They did look like world beaters because that defense was all over the Steelers' offense. I mean, my God, it was bad. At one point in the game, the San Francisco 49ers had 199 total yards of offense, and the Steelers had 1. Let that sink in. 1 yard of offense. I understand the 49ers have dogs all over. Fred Warner, okay, Nick Bosa, but 1 yard. 1 yard. I like Mike Tomlin, and I understand that the Steelers like stability and they value stability with their organization, which is the reason they've only had 3 head coaches in like the last 50 or 60 years. I respect the hell out of the Steelers for that. I really do. But 1 yard? Mike Tomlin's calling card has been defense throughout his career. I understand it's tough to stop the San Francisco 49ers offense with McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. They've got weapons coming at you from all over the field. But defensively, an organization that prides itself on calling itself the Steel Curtain, tough, gritty nose city, the Steelers are going nowhere fast. We know that. The AFC North is going to come down to the Bengals and Ravens, which I think one of those 2 teams will represent the Super Bowl, the AFC and the Super Bowl, in Super Bowl 58 in Vegas. I think the Bengals or Ravens. I'm not ready to bail on the Chiefs yet because you can never count them out as long as they have 15 in the huddle and on the sidelines. But I really think the Bengals and Ravens will figure it out as the season progresses, right? As the season progresses, I think they'll figure it out. And I think they'll represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. As for the NFC, that remains up for grabs. The NFC, I know a lot of people like the Detroit Lions, but let's keep in mind they are the Detroit Lions. They are the Detroit Lions. The Cowboys are the Dallas Cowboys. So I don't have a lot of stock or faith in those teams. Philly and San Fran are well-run organizations that have histories of winning. So if you ask me to bet on two of those teams, I'd take the Eagles and 49ers making it to the Super Bowl probably over Dallas and Detroit. But it remains interesting. It remains interesting. I mean, my biggest winners from week one, or the teams that had the best performances in week one in no particular order, are the 49ers, Cowboys, Browns, Dolphins, and Packers. The teams that had the worst performances in week one would be the Giants, Steelers, Bears, Seahawks, and Bengals. Joe Burrow was running for his life from the time kickoff started. Running for his life. Looked petrified. Shout out to that Browns defense. They were all over Joe Burrow and all over those receivers. Jamar Chase had a few catches, had some yards here and there, but by and large, that secondary did a phenomenal job on keeping the Bengals off the field, and when they were on the field, did a phenomenal job of making plays when they needed to make plays. It was a long day at the office for Joey B. Keeping things on football, the Dolphins-Chargers game was a good game. Tua Tagovailoa came out on top. Tyreek Hill is just phenomenal. I said it at the beginning of the show. Tyreek Hill is all world. He can do no wrong. If you give me, Tyreek Hill is the best receiver in the National Football League, pound for pound. That's my opinion. That's no disrespect to Devontae Adams. I understand what Devontae Adams represents, whether he was with Aaron Rodgers or now that he's with Jimmy Garoppolo. But Tyreek Hill is so electric and is such a game changer. He puts so much fear and pressure on defenses because of his speed. They used to always say you can't teach or coach speed. Maybe you can, but not that kind of speed. World-class speed. Tyreek Hill is special. But the Dolphins walked away with the victory, but I want to actually talk about something interesting that I saw. And there were AI robots at the Dolphins-Chargers game. Now, apparently or supposedly, it's for a movie called The Creator, which is coming out September 29th. And if you all remember, there was promo for another movie called Smile a year ago. And they kept having people pop up at random sporting events or sports games, like just making creepy smiles. Now, I'm not going to lie. Let me tell you all this. If I was at the football game and I looked to my left or looked to my right and I saw an AI robot, I don't care what advertising or promotion the movie was doing. I'm taking my ass and getting up and walking out of the stadium immediately. Immediately. We don't need AI robots at games. Posing as fans, it's weird, it's creepy. I don't like it one bit. I understand that they're trying to promote the film. I'm not going to see the film regardless, but no. At a football game, I barely want to sit next to regular fans. So I damn sure as hell don't want to sit next to an AI robot fan. Hollywood has lost their mind. You all have lost your mind. Knock it off with the weird shit. Stop. We don't want to sit next to AI robot fans. Go try your little experiment somewhere else. I know SoFi Stadium is in Inglewood, not too far from LA. But no, we want to enjoy the game. And for the most part, the game was good. There was a lot of back and forth. Even though the Chargers came up on the short end of the stick. I hate the Chargers. I know as a journalist or as a commentator, I'm not supposed to outwardly come out and say, oh, I like this player, I like this team, or I hate this team, I love this team. But I don't care. I don't like the Chargers because they always do Chargers shit. What do I mean by that? Last year in the playoffs against the Jacksonville Jaguars, There is no way they should have lost that football game. But somehow they did. Why? Because you can always count on the Chargers to get in their own way. This is what they do. This is who they are. For as long as I've been watching football, this is what I've known the Chargers organization to be. Whether it was Phillip Rivers in the huddle and under center, or now it be Justin Herbert, it does not matter. The Chargers you can always count on them to get in their own way. It's frustrating. I think Justin Herbert is immensely talented, but there's something about him that's missing. There's something about that franchise that's missing. There's something about that head coach, Brandon Staley, that's missing. I can't put my finger on it, but I just know it when I see it. And I don't like what I see from them. I don't like their organization. I don't like the way they're run. I don't like the way they're coached. I don't like their strength and conditioning staff because their receivers always seem to be hurt. Always. There's always a hamstring or a groin. What the hell is going on with that organization? Are they cursed? Is there a hex? Did someone put voodoo on them? I don't know. But I don't think the Chargers are legitimate contenders in the AFC West. I think they'll be a good team. Will they make the playoffs? Sure. But do I expect them to go far? No. Neither do you. Neither do any of you listening. And neither do they. Now, the team that sent them home last year, the Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence has a nice shiny weapon called Calvin Ridley. And man, oh man, did he put Calvin Ridley to work week 1. If you got Calvin Ridley in fantasy, he went off. I think he had 8 catches for something like 100 and something yards. The Jaguars are really, really good. And Trevor Lawrence is him. Trevor Lawrence is him. He's got the look. He's got the skills. And now he's got the weapons on offense to go out and make things happen. So stay tuned. The Jaguars are coming. The Jaguars are coming. The AFC South is a disaster anyway. Nobody has any faith. And love Mike Vrabel as a coach. Love him as a player. Nobody has any faith in Ryan Tannehill. Not a single soul. Okay? The Colts have a rookie quarterback and Anthony Richardson. And who's the other team in the AFC South? Can't even think about it. Other team in the AFC. It'll come to me. But the Jaguars, the Texans. Come on. The Texans. Yes, they played Baltimore close week 1, but nobody expects anything from the Texans. They're not going anywhere. So that division is the Jaguars to lose, in my opinion. If I was Derrick Henry, I would be on line 1 asking for a trade immediately. Now, I don't think he's going to get compensated what he's looking for because his best days are behind him, not ahead of him. But I would want out of Tennessee. Ryan Tannehill is not it. He's not it. Seems like a really nice guy. But in terms of being a franchise marquee quarterback, he's not it. See, that's the problem with the NFL. There are a lot of starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And a lot of times people might confuse starters with franchise guys. There's only a handful of franchise guys. A handful. You've got Mahomes. You've got Burrow. Before whatever incident he had, Deshaun Watson. Okay? Aaron Rodgers, even though I wouldn't really count him because he's older. You can throw Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson in there, even though I still think the verdict should be out on them. And then Justin Herbert. So we're talking maybe 5 or 6 guys in the entire National Football League, and it's 32 teams. But there are a bunch of guys who can start and play quarterback in the National Football League. That doesn't mean that they're good or that they're the long-term solution for a franchise for 10 to 15 years. That's just my humble opinion, though. I've never played a down in the National Football League. I'm just going based off what I see. I do want to shift gears to the NBA. I do want to talk a little basketball with you all. I'm going to try and pull up this quote. Because it's interesting. So embarrassment is the easiest way to produce changed behavior. Embarrassment is the easiest way to produce changed behavior. So Team USA thought that they could win a competition with their C or D level team. That's what they thought. And boy, were they wrong. Boy, were they wrong. Why were they wrong? Let's look at the Team USA roster. I'm going to pull this up. Let's look at Team USA roster. Team USA roster. Paolo Banchero, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Jaren Jackson, Cam Johnson, Walker Kessler, Bobby Portis, Austin Reeves. Coached by Steve Kerr and Eric Spoelstra. Now look, all of those guys can play and have very, very, very important roles on their respective teams. But that group of guys is not good enough to send to the world stage and say, hey, go bring us back a trophy. And it showed. It showed. A lot of times with these tournaments, cohesion, unity, togetherness, that's what separates teams from collections of parts. But I don't care if LeBron, Steph, KD, Anthony Davis, and Draymond Green have never played a single lick of basketball together. You put those 5 guys on the court, or 5 of the NBA's best players, and tell them to go win a championship, I'm going to trust that they're going to figure it out. I'm going to trust that they're going to figure it out. So LeBron is allegedly or reportedly rallying the troops for 2024. And I don't know why Team USA doesn't send their best players. Maybe it's like once you get to a certain level in the NBA, your focus and priorities are elsewhere. I get that. But every time we lose or get bounced by somebody like Canada or Lithuania or Greece, whatever the country is, people start thinking that this means the gap between United States basketball players or American basketball players is closing with the rest of the world, and that's simply not true. Has the rest of the world gotten better? Sure. But if you give me the 5 best NBA players, we would smoke any other country. Smoke. Not beat, smoke. LeBron, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, Steph Curry. It don't even matter who the 5th player is. Put me in as the 5th player. Who cares? I'll set screens and picks all day. We would smoke any other country's 5 players. That's the reality of the situation. And they know that. The rest of the world knows that. Team USA knows that. So maybe it's one of those things like, hey, it's not really competitive. I don't really have time for that. Or maybe it's too much tax on the body because all of the players I just named are veterans and have been in the league for an exceptionally long time. But we would smoke them, man. Come on, stop. We got to be honest with ourselves. We would smoke any other country if we started sending our best players. So if LeBron is serious about this, I would love to see it. Especially one last hurrah. LeBron, KD, Steph, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, Kawhi Leonard, whoever, Dame Lillard. Yo, bring everybody. Bring everybody. Make it an all-star game. Get the all-star teams from last year. All of the players from last year. Send them to wherever the Olympics is going to be in 2024. And let's reassert ourselves. Because now playtime is over. Okay, playtime is over. You got Dylan Brooks out there looking like a superstar. Dennis Schroeder, who I like. Not too much on Dennis Schroeder. People talking spicy about Team USA, to Team USA. Enough of that. Enough of that. Playtime is over. LeBron, get KD, Steph, AD, and whoever else you need on line 1. Tell them 2024 is lit. Team USA, we back outside. And we will smoke anybody. Lithuania, Greece, Turkey, Africa, I don't care. The best basketball players play in the National Basketball Association. I don't care what that Olympian Laos, whatever his name is. I don't care what he said. Not trying to hear none of that. We got the best basketball players. Period. We got the best basketball players. We have the best basketball players. Speaking of basketball players, Kevin Porter Jr. I'm going to have to pull this up because, oh man. Kevin Porter Jr. Kevin Porter Jr. was arrested and charged with strangulation of his girlfriend, who happens to be a former WNBA player. Now, Kevin Porter Jr. is a young man. He's since been released on bail, $75,000 bail. He's been ordered to stay away from his ex-girlfriend. I'm not going to read what he's being alleged of because it is kind of graphic, but Kevin Porter Jr.'s NBA career is in serious jeopardy. And I'm not sure what takes place once NBA players get drafted, but there seems to be a disconnect. Young players are either not surrounded by people who care about them, or they're simply not listening to the people that are around them that care about them. In the case of Kevin Porter Jr., I don't know which one of the two it is. I wasn't there, so I'm not going to comment on the actual situation. But my message to Kevin Porter Jr. and to everybody listening is one decision based off of emotions can alter your life forever. As a former cop in DC, I used to see it all the time. Emotional people always lose. Don't let people mislead you into thinking that it is acceptable to act on everything you feel. Because in the end, you're going to be the one paying the price for it. And paying the price could look a lot different depending on what that price is. It could mean jail. It could mean loss of money. It could mean loss of job. It could mean loss of life. And the reason I say it could mean loss of life is because Dwayne Haskins' wife, you all know Dwayne Haskins obviously passed away, but his wife is sisters with Kevin Porter Jr., allegedly. Allegedly. So there was a screenshot on Twitter from Calabria Haskins, I guess her Twitter page or her Instagram page. And I'm not going to read what she said, but basically she had some choice words for Mr. Porter. And it wasn't very welcoming either. It was along the lines of like, yo, if I see you, you're going to get touched. Now, I understand she's frustrated. She feels like her sister was violated, assaulted. But I'm not totally cool with her response. I get that she's acting emotionally. And this is my overarching theme. Emotional maturity, emotional discipline, these are things that aren't practiced enough or preached enough. You can't just do what you want to do because you feel a certain way. We already live in the Wild Wild West, but if that was the case, or if that was the law of the land, we would be living in even crazier times. I know it's easier said than done because oftentimes doing what you feel feels good in that moment until you get home or you're by yourself and you realize you're like, yo, what the hell did I just do? Or what the hell did I just say? People, you tell me all the time, you can't unring the bell. What does that mean? Once you say something, you can't take it back. You can't unsay it. Once you do something, you can't undo it. So it would behoove everyone, including myself, to be careful what you say to people and to be careful what you do to people. Ultimately, you got to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is what I'm about to do worth whatever is going to come with it? And if the answer to that is no, you got to exit stage left. You got to exit stage left. So I'm hoping for the best possible outcome for that situation. I hope that justice is served, whatever justice means to the respective parties. But Kevin Porter Jr. has a promising future in the National Basketball Association. And being a part of the NBA is a privilege, not a right. And I'm sure that as a result of him being a part of that fraternity, he was able to change the lives of himself and those around him. In my eyes, nobody is worth jeopardizing that. So prayers up to everyone, Kevin Porter Jr., the young lady, Calabria Haskins, the families, all involved and affected parties. Prayers up to everybody, man. Prayers up to everybody. Now, in lighter news, Drake had a video. I wonder if we can get this pulled up. I liked it on Twitter. Let me see. So you all know that Drake is supposed to be releasing his album For All the Dogs on September 22nd, allegedly. I have to use allegedly because we were supposed to get this album last month in August. Still don't have the album, but it's cool. Drake is one of those people. We will wait patiently, not tripping, but he was at a show in, I believe, Texas on Monday night, and he walked out with Kevin Durant, and basically during the show, he said, hey, I'm dropping a song off the album this week. Whether or not he does that remains to be seen. But what are my, I guess, thoughts or feelings about Drake's upcoming album? Am I excited for it? There's a lot of hype and anticipation around it. His own father said, like, yo, this is some of the best music my son has ever dropped. I understand that you have to evaluate the source. I don't expect his father to come out and say, hey, this is some of the worst music my son has dropped. But on the flip side, for him to make that comment unprovoked, unwarranted, is interesting to me because Drake has been making hits year after year for the better part of the last decade. 10 plus years we're coming up on of dominance. Now, do I think Drake is still capable of making a album of all slaps? Yes, I do. Because that album he has with 21 Savage, Her Loss, was fire. To this day, multiple songs on that album have playback value. Multiple songs. Spin About You, Hours in Silence, okay, Middle of the Ocean, on BS. The album is lit. The album is lit. The tour has been lit. The walk through from the crowd to the stage has been phenomenal. He's been bringing out different people in each city he's been in. This is why I like Drake. If you know me, you know I talk a lot about Drake because I think he makes music for everyone. That's why he's so iconic, is because he literally makes music for everybody. He makes music for every type of mood, but his consistency is what I marvel at. Him and Chris Brown are the two most consistent artists of my lifetime. No hiatuses, no extended leaves of absences. And it's not me taking shots at anybody in the music game. Because for all we say about J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar popping in and popping out, whenever J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar step back outside, they remind you of why they are J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar. But we don't ever need a reminder of who and why Drake is Drake. He makes sure we're taken care of year in, year out. And I respect that. Same thing with Chris Brown. That doesn't mean that everything the two of them put out is a hit or is a slap. But the body of work, the catalog, speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. So I'm going to see if I can find this clip. Gonna see if I can find this clip. Can we play this? Can we play this? I don't know if you can hear me. But yeah, basically Drake said he's dropping a new song this week. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know if he will or won't, but hopefully he does. Hopefully he does. There's another thing I wanted to talk to you all about. I want to talk to you all about Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders. The Deion Sanders effect. If you've been following college football, which by my own admission, I'm not the biggest college football fan, but I'm not going to lie. Prime gets people to tune in. That's what I mean by the Deion Sanders effect. Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, gets butts in seats and gets eyeballs on television screens. He's what you call a polarizing personality. Whether you like, love, or hate him, you're tuning in because you want to see what the result is going to be. A lot of people are rooting against him. A lot of people are rooting for him. That's what polarization looks like. The Colorado Buffaloes improved to 2-0 this past week. Impressive victory. And I mean, what can you say? Deion's talking his shit. Deion's talking his shit. Everybody's pulling up to the games. Stephen A was at the game. Shannon Sharp was at the game. Cameron was at the game. A bunch of artists, Wu-Tang Clan was at the game. That is the Deion Sanders effect. He has what you call the Midas touch. Anything he touches turns to gold. Deion Sanders has enjoyed success in everything he's done. Virtually everything. He was a two-sport athlete, which is insane, considering one of the two sports was Major League Baseball. You know how hard it is to be a pro in one professional sports league, let alone two? So we get that. Deion Sanders is, he's the football version of Jesus, basically. But if I were a Colorado Buffaloes fan, right? They're having the time of their life. They're the talk of the college football world. If I were a Colorado Buffaloes fan, I wouldn't get too attached to Deion Sanders. I wouldn't. And I know it's going to sound like this is going to sound like hate, but it's not. I'm just telling you, based on what we know of him and based on what we know of him and of what he is as a person and what his mission in life is, I wouldn't get attached to him. Because it's not a matter of if he leaves Colorado, it's a matter of when he leaves Colorado. And again, for me to say that at this time, relatively early into his tenure as a head coach, sounds like hate. But I promise you, this is not coming from a space or place where I'm hating on Deion, where I'm rooting against him to fail. That's not the case at all. I just don't want a repeat of what happened at Jackson State, where people felt like Jackson State University fans and a lot of black people felt like Deion Sanders sold a bill of goods to the student body and to our community about what he wanted to do, not just for that HBCU, but for HBCUs across the board. And then when he got an opportunity, he bolted and exited stage left. Deion Sanders is a fixer. He is a builder. He leaves his imprint everywhere he goes. But the problem is you can't get attached to people like that because that's the thing. They've shown you throughout their history, they will leave. And them leaving doesn't necessarily have to do with anything that you've done or them not being happy. It's just some people's innate personality is for them to want to go out and build something from the ground up. You know how hard it is to establish your own? Just think about that. Or to change the culture of a business, of a sports team. It is a challenge. And even though I don't know Deion Sanders and I've never met him personally, he strikes me as the type of person who's motivated by challenges. He wants to prove people wrong. He hears the chatter. He hears the naysayers, the detractors, the doubters. I respect it. I respect it. I just don't want in 2 or 3 years, once Deion has accomplished everything he set out to do, or maybe once he's accomplished a couple of things on his list, if he takes another opportunity somewhere else, whether that be at another big program or a bigger program in college football, or even a job in the NFL, or even if he just says, hey, I'm walking away from the sport totally. I don't want people to come out of the woodwork saying, I feel betrayed, I feel misled, he got us all buttered up just to bail on us. It's not fair to him. It's not. And don't get me wrong, Deion Sanders definitely does have the personality. He's a preacher. He's a preacher. He's a salesman. He is a salesman. But when he left Jackson State, I told people if that's the type of vibe you get from him and you know this is his track record, why are you still upset? The example I would give is if you get into a relationship with a prostitute, let's just say you fall for a prostitute and you find out that she cheated on you with 3 other guys, why would you get upset if when you got with her, you knew she was a prostitute and this is the life that she lives? When you get into bed with Deion Sanders, not literally, I'm speaking figuratively, as a fan, a football fan, you have to know that at some point, this guy might leave. This guy might leave. So as a fan, a Colorado Buffalo fan, I would enjoy every single moment. I would enjoy every single game. Whether y'all make it far in the college football playoff or not, I would enjoy it all. Because at some point, inevitably, it's coming to an end. We don't know when or where, but it's coming to an end. It is coming to an end. So, Deion, congratulations. They keep moving forward. I'm not sure who they play next. Let's see who Colorado plays next. Colorado Buffalo's schedule. I had their schedule pulled up here. They have a game this week against Colorado State. Okay, after that, they play Oregon, they play USC, Arizona State. So the schedule picks up a little bit, but these are games that either should be winnable or they should at least be competitive in. And look, I think the more eyes on college football is better for the sport. And again, like I said, Deion Sanders, there's a handful of athletes who have this quality. Tom Brady, Floyd Mayweather, LeBron James, Michael Jordan. These are guys that are the top of the top, the best of the best. And when people tune in to watch them, it's for one or two reasons. They're either really rooting for them to succeed or really rooting for them to fail. That's it. That is it. So it'll be interesting. It will be interesting. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk to you guys about, anything else that is pressing. I talked about, I also want to congratulate Will Smith and the cast of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. On September 10th, I believe it was, that was when the show debuted 33 years ago. Shout out to that entire cast. And it got me to thinking, like, what are my top 5 favorite sitcoms? Could be black or white sitcoms, doesn't really matter, but just what are my top 5 favorite sitcoms? And I feel like this discussion is one that always divides people because there's a segment of people that think if you don't have Martin really, really, really high in your top 5 sitcoms, then you're bugging. And then other people are kind of like, Martin's kind of overrated. I don't agree with that. But if I had to really sit down and think about what my top 5 sitcoms would be, this is in no particular order. I definitely would have the Jamie Foxx Show in there. I would have My Wife and Kids in there. I would have Girlfriends in there. I would have Moesha in there. And I would have Martin in there as well. Honorable mentions would be The Game, the show with Tia and Duran, Ding Dong. I would have that in there. It's just so many to choose from, even white sitcoms. I grew up on white sitcoms. I used to watch Saved by the Bell. The Nanny, loved The Nanny with Fran Drescher. Oh my gosh, like she was like my crush for, I don't even know for how many years, but love that show. Like literally love that show. King of Queens with Kevin James. Kevin James is hilarious. Another one of my favorite white sitcoms. There was a bunch, though. I used to watch Boy Meets World. Shout out to Topanga. Topanga, if you were a kid, there's no way you didn't like Topanga. Like, if you were a male, I don't care whether you were black or white, there's no way you didn't like Topanga from Boy Meets World. There's no way you didn't like Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell. These shows were iconic in their own right. Fran Drescher on The Nanny, iconic. But yeah, the sitcom conversation always is one that I'm always trying to see, like, I wonder what people, because when I think of sitcoms, I don't just limit it to black shows. I incorporate white shows in that too. And I always wonder, like, what people's favorite sitcoms were or what, like, their top 5 was. So that'd be my top 5. Probably Moesha, Girlfriends, The Jamie Foxx Show, Martin, and My Wife and Kids. I feel like I could watch any of those shows anytime, anywhere. And even if I've seen the episodes 1,000 times, I feel like they would still hit the same. That's just me. I feel like it would still hit the same. I think that's all I wanted to talk to you guys about. In case you are a new listener, if you're a new listener, my podcast is available on all major streaming platforms. We do have opportunities for sponsorship, small businesses, large businesses, big businesses, new businesses. There are sponsorship opportunities. Feel free to reach out to me via email at markmywordshow@gmail.com. I want to thank all the viewers and listeners. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is the Mark My Word Show, so continue to support that. I appreciate you all. But unfortunately, they say all good things must come to an end. And if you've made it this far in the episode, that means you reached the end of the show. I appreciate Any returning listeners and any new-time listeners, for new-time listeners, welcome to the show. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something new. I hope that the perspectives were fresh, and I hope that this took your mind off whatever you may be going through in life. If you were feeling this episode, be sure to like it on Apple. When I share it on YouTube, be sure to share it, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. I go by the name of Marcus Lamar, and you've been listening to another episode of the Mark My Word Show, available on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. And I look forward to talking to you all next time. Stay safe, enjoy your week and your weekend, and continue to enjoy this football season. I know I will.